Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Christina. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really sorry this has taken such a long time for me to make. As everyone knows, 2020 has been chaotic. So I have had a lot going on and I just haven't really been motivated to make a video. And also I was trying to finish a book that I want to review for you guys, and so I finally did. It was really difficult. So let's jump right in. So I read ACOTAR, also known as A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. It is a 4 and counting book series. Mainly a trilogy with like a continuation of the series and the storyline with no real storyline to it for the 4th book. I don't know if that makes sense. I read Throne of Glass, which is another series by her, and it was about 7 books and they were pretty long, so this one is a little bit shorter. Surprisingly, I used to really like shorter book series, mainly at trilogies, but I really like longer book series. So I'm kind of disappointed that this one now is shorter, and the storyline is really interesting. So let's hop into it. The storyline is definitely different from Throne of Glass. It's mainly about this human girl named Feyre, and she lives near the border of this magical land called Prythian, and she meets a High Lord of one of the courts on accident. She manages to kill one of his friends, and she gets pretty much banished to go live in Prythian with him and falls in love with him. So I'm not going to get too much into the storyline as much as I will my opinion of it. So she falls in love with this High Lord, and she goes through all these trials, and it's just kind of, it's interesting because you're like, oh, it's gonna work out, and then spoiler, it didn't work out at the end. She actually ends up realizing that he's very toxic and escapes him by this agreement that she made with this other High Lord. His name is Rhysand. I call him Rhysand, but his name is Rhysand. And anyways, they go on adventures together, and she just pretty much falls in love with him instead. Okay, so let's talk more into the specifics of writing and things like that. So Sarah J. Maas, in the Throne of Glass series, everything was in 3rd person. I preferably did not like that. And so now in the Court of Thorns and Roses, she actually writes everything in 1st person. Sometimes from other people's perspectives, but mainly from Feyre's. What I like about Feyre is she's very relatable. I really like her. In comparison to Aelin, I love how strong Aelin is, and I liked in Throne of Glass how Aelin had all of these ideas working behind the scenes that me as a reader didn't know, but it made Aelin seem so untouchable. Whereas you read about Feyre and you're like, wow, I would probably feel exactly the same as Feyre does. She just seems more realistic and like almost as if you could be Feyre and you can feel her emotion and her experience as she's going through these situations. So I don't know if it's the writing style or the way that she portrays the character, but I really like it. I also noticed that Sarah J. Maas isn't as repetitive. Sarah J. Maas is so repetitive with certain words in Throne of Glass. And there's lots of world building in Throne of Glass that I just really had a hard time paying attention to. A Court of Thorns and Roses is very interesting. I didn't find any areas where I felt like skipping. Usually I have found that most people who really like Throne of Glass hate A Court of Thorns and Roses, and people who like ACOTAR hate Throne of Glass, and so it just depends. It's one or the other usually. I was really hesitant to read ACOTAR, and now I'm really glad that I did because it's probably one of my favorite book series ever. What I really was looking forward to that I saw on my Facebook fan page was that A Court of Thorns and Roses, there was an allude in Kingdom of Ash from Throne of Glass that Feyre became pregnant, which in the series it's very hard for Faye to become pregnant. And it was actually in a world crossover that SJM didn't want to do, but she felt very pressured by a lot of the fandom to do, and so she did, and it's just really inorganic, I think. But anyways, who cares? Who cares about my opinion? A Court of Frost and Starlight, which is the last book, it's like book 4. I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna get to see Feyre get pregnant and then see her journey as a previous human being Fae and what that Fae pregnancy looks like, and it was really cool in my opinion. I was looking forward to it and it never happened. So it was really frustrating that people talked about it and hyped it up and made it seem like it was a thing, and it wasn't a thing. So she's writing another book, and it's supposed to be more of a Cassie and a Nesta spinoff. It's supposed to be like a continuation of their storyline, and it's not very interesting to me. Looking back on it, I'm like, what the heck? Like, some of these storylines and some of the characters really irk me. Interesting how my opinion can change over time. The last book was so boring. I really couldn't get through it. I listened to the audiobook version. Like I said, like, there's no ongoing storyline for any kind of villain. It's just day-to-day life and the situating of the characters into their roles, and it's really boring. It's really the worst book I probably have ever read. And like I said, the only reason I read it was because I thought Feyre was going to get pregnant, and I got excited for that. But yeet! I really enjoy the visualization of the worlds that Sarah J. Maas created. So Valaris is the city of Starlight. It is so beautiful. Like, it's supposed to have like scents of citrus and jasmine and all these things, and like, I have been gravitating towards those scents in my real life because they just seem so beautiful, and I just kind of want to like live in Valaris, but in my real life as much as I can. I also really like Rhysand. I think that Rhysand is an incredible mate and lover and partner for Feyre, and just in general, he's a lot more likable than Rowan in Throne of Glass. Rowan was just really submissive towards Aelin because Aelin's so aggressive and just like so secretive and mysterious, but like super attractive and whatever. But Feyre is so beautiful and human and real and authentic, and Rhysand is very supportive, and he puts his opinion out there, but he's also so freeing as a partner, and he doesn't bound Feyre by anything. He gives her always a choice, and I think there's something that's so beautiful about a companion like that. I love the romantic aspect of that. So it's always described that Throne of Glass, the series, is like adventure with a little bit of romance, and then ACOTAR is romance with a little bit of adventure. So if you're looking for a mystical, realistic, relatable, easy to read kind of book that really touches on a lot of great points and real life scenarios, I think ACOTAR is incredible. It's beautiful. Easily one of my favorite series to read, minus A Court of Frost and Starlight. I would not read that again. But the actual series I would like to read and really try and comprehend again, because it was just seamless. Throne of Glass, I felt, had so many bumps, but that's just from my perspective. And like I said, it's flip-flop on which people mostly like, but I preferred ACOTAR by far. So yeah, I say it's worth reading the first book, and know that the first book is so different from the last two books, but the last two books get better in a really deeper storyline. So if you want to just test it out, I would say definitely read the first book. And you know what I just remembered? I really love how Feyre never loses sight of who she used to be. She's always so gracious and so humble and so real. She grew up in a really terrible situation, very poor, and her circumstances change, but she never ever loses sight of who she is, and I think that's so beautiful. That's where I feel like Aelin in Throne of Glass really messed up, because Aelin really lost sight of herself. Now there can be an argument that, you know, well, she was hiding, and well, she was, you know, she went through more than Feyre did, and blah 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 blah, but at the end of the day, I personally just really love Feyre. I really do. I also love that in this book series, SJM really shows an appreciative side to the arts. So like painters, artists, theatrical students, like anybody who's creative can really find appreciation, like feel like they're appreciated through this book. I really enjoyed the series. I really did. The last book, not worth it, but the first three are incredible, and really some of my favorite series I've read in a long time. So I would definitely recommend that to you. And I miss you guys. I'm sorry I haven't been on, but I hope to be posting more soon, and I love you so, so much. If you have any questions about the series or anything that I didn't point or talk about, but you want to talk a little bit more about, just comment it below, and I would be happy to discuss. Also, I think I said this in my last video, but I'm at over 300 subscribers, and I don't know what I did for your love, but I appreciate it. You guys are so incredible, and really, truly, thank you so much to all my subscribers, the few of you, and feel free to subscribe. Feel free to be a part of this family and feel the love. But regardless, I love you a lot. Thank you so much. Bye.